She would join us in a wild snowball fight. In the summer, she'd start a water war by grabbing a garden hose and dousing us with the cold spray. If we were stuck inside, she'd teach us to play a card game or how to make a batch of cookies. She found a way to be a part of our lives, making memories out of the most ordinary days. If Fridays were the good days, Sundays were bittersweet, knowing that the minutes with Mom were ticking down and that we would soon be parting ways. I was aware that she would be taking us back home. I was old enough to repeat the facts, that it would be 2 weeks until we could do it all over again. But 2 weeks to a 5-year-old felt like a lifetime. It was difficult to imagine passing the time between then and the next visit, so I tried to make the most of the lazy Sunday afternoons before going home. I'd do my best to fight back the tears, aware that our weekend together was drawing to a close. She'd drive us back home to the small farm where we lived with my father in rural southeastern Kansas, 5 miles east of a cozy little town called Chanute. Our house was a breezy fixer-upper, nestled on a few acres between pastures and soybean fields. My sister and I spent most of our time outdoors exploring, looking for wild mulberries along the fence-lined trees, or working alongside my father in our old red wooden barn as he tended to his horses. I found comfort in the simplicity of my father's world. There was always something constructive to be done around the farm, mending fences or feeding the animals. When the chores were done, he'd grab a rope and teach us how to lasso a sawhorse as if it were a calf, or maybe even fashion us a bow and arrow made from tree branches and baling twine. With Dad, there was always adventure with work and with play. Among my favorite things to do was to help Dad shoe the horses. His skills as a farrier were fascinating. Whenever he brought out his tools and the anvil, I was right there to join him. Though I was still small enough that I could walk under a horse, I begged for him to let me in on the action. There were times where he might say something like, "This is too big a job for a little girl." But I wouldn't have it. I wanted to be just like him. So he taught me, perhaps nervously, to pick up the hoof of our mare, hold it between my knees, and file it down. It didn't matter that I only had the strength and coordination to last for a few seconds. He let me be a part of his world, and I was overjoyed. While other little girls were playing with dolls and dressing up, I found my stride alongside my dad as a happy little tomboy. My father faced his fair share of criticism for supposedly letting his pretty little girls run wild. I was happy as I could imagine when I was knee-deep in mud, fetching the horses from the pasture. However, Grandma Knapp did not see it that way. There were the odd Sundays when Grandma insisted that we clean up, put on dresses, and head to church with her. Yielding to his mother's insistence that we should at least try to act like little ladies, she would squeeze us, against our will, into nylons and patent leather shoes, comb out our hair, and send us off to Sunday school. I felt like a lump of meat shoved into an itchy sausage casing. I was the spitting image of Scout from To Kill a Mockingbird. There was nothing more excruciating than to have to try and pay attention to the unwanted, boring lessons about Jesus and the loaves and fishes while trying to manage a pair of creepy nylons running up my backside. All I could think of was changing into a pair of jeans and getting back outside on the farm with my dad. Much of the adult conversation in my father's world in those days was about how his little girls needed a woman's influence. The fear, I suppose, was that we would soon grow so wild and tomboyish that we might eventually be unrecognizable as girls. My mother, with her allotment of 4 days per month, and my Grandma Knapp were doing the best to inspire femininity in us, but it wasn't enough. I think everyone felt a bit of relief when, after a few short years of being a single father, he would meet and introduce us to the woman who would change our lives. I remember being excited about my father's new love. While I adored my father's laid-back style of living, there was some charm we were clearly missing without a woman on the scene. Up to that point, our country house was little more than a shelter where we ate and slept. The only life we had known for the 2 years since my parents